As the recent farcical trend of celebrity boxing fights goes on, former NBA star Nick Young has become the latest former sportsman to suffer the indignity of embarrassing himself in the ring. He went up against influencer-turned-boxer Malcolm Minikon, but things didn't work out too well for former Laker Swaggy P. Today we're discussing Young's first boxing fight and what he claims was an illegal headbutt to end the fight. Stay tuned. Let's get straight into it then. What happened? Somebody is going to get seriously hurt one of these days. If the current trend of letting people with absolutely zero boxing ability into the ring carries on, then there's no doubt that someone is going to end up in hospital. The latest to pretend they had any sort of boxing skills whatsoever was former NBA star Nick Swaggy P Young, who is probably most famous for his stints at the Washington Wizards and the LA Lakers, as well as being the ex-boyfriend of one Iggy Azalea. It was the first time that Young had stepped into the ring, and hopefully the last, but neither man showed any particular prowess in the squared circle. The fight was stopped in the third as Minikon landed a punch to the back of Young's head, a highly illegal shot in the boxing ring. Just one round later, Young was sent through the ropes as he came together with Minikon, who didn't appear to throw anything. Swaggy P claimed shortly after the fight to have been headbutted by Minikon, but on closer inspection it simply seems as though he was probably looking for a way out of a boxing ring he had absolutely no business being in. The exhibition bout was an unscored event and was only scheduled for 5 rounds, but the pair were probably relieved the bout was called off when it was. What with the lack of skill of both men? What else do we know about the fight then? Stay tuned to find out. Well, Minikon had also lost his mouthpiece in the second as Young had landed possibly the only decent shot of the whole fight, but that was really the only action until Young's unflattering fall from the ring. After the fight was called off, Young went on to say, "I felt good. I hit him a lot. I felt I came and did what I had to do. He hit me with a cheap shot, and that's what you've got to do when you're losing. I don't want him getting a headbutt at the end and thinking he won off a headbutt. I don't know how you can think he won." Of course, as the whole world quite clearly saw, there was no headbutt at all, and Young is simply trying to restore a little bit of pride, so we can't really blame him for that. But the idea that Minikon headbutted him is pretty far from reality. Minikon was actually filling in on short notice after rapper Blueface pulled out of the bout and claimed that if he had more time to prepare, he would have performed much better. Minikon then went on to deny headbutting Young, but he has little to worry about as there's only one person on the planet accusing him of that. He then went on to call out Blueface, saying, Blueface already knows. He saw if he wants it, I'm right here. Easy. What do you guys make of this current trend? So, what was up with Blueface pulling out? Let's discuss. Fans of celebrity boxing were disappointed in the build-up to the Blueface vs. Young fight recently, as the rapper was forced out of the fight just days before. The controversial star was denied a boxing license by the California State Athletic Commission, but Young is probably wishing he had also been denied a license after his pretty embarrassing effort. Blueface, aka Jonathan Jamal Porter, has some athletic experience in his locker as he formerly played football for Fayetteville State University before switching to boxing. He recently made headlines after using his girlfriend Christian Rock as an unwilling training partner, so it's a shame he wasn't given the license. If he was, a male could have done the same to him. After he was forced out of the fight, Nick Young took to Instagram to goad him by saying he too busy getting his A whooped outside the ring, so who want to take his place? We all know how that turned out for Young. Blueface signed with Bare Knuckle FC last summer and first took on Cain Trujillo, winning via unanimous decision. However, he was removed from the KSI vs. Swarms card following the controversy with Rock, even though most boxing fans would have liked to see him take a beating. Are you guys fans of this guy? We're talking Le'Veon Bell's huge win over Adrian Peterson next. Stay with us. Adrian Peterson is another one of these ill-trained big names who are courting injury due to this celebrity boxing trend. The running backs, who are both currently free agents, went head-to-head earlier this month, but there was little to write home about before Bell landed a massive right hand to stop Peterson. Bell had approached Peterson with his hands down throughout much of the fight, and so can count himself lucky he wasn't on the receiving end of a heavy KO himself. But as the fight rolled on into the fifth, it was Bell himself who landed the overhand right, which connected flush on the chin of the former Minnesota Viking. Peterson's knees wobbled beneath him, but despite his protestations, the referee called it. After the bout, Bell went on to suggest he won't be playing top-level football this season, saying, "I know know I'm not going to be playing this year because I want to focus on boxing. But Peterson had a different take on it in the build-up to the fight, alluding to the fact that he would be using the sport to keep fit and waiting for that next opportunity to present itself. Whether or not that means in the NFL or elsewhere is yet to be seen. What did you guys make of the Bell versus Peterson fight? Next up, a UFC legend has given his prediction for the upcoming Paul versus Silva fight. Chuck Liddell knows a thing or two about fighting. The former UFC light heavyweight champion has recently been discussing who he thinks will come out on top when former UFC middleweight champion Anderson Silva goes up against YouTuber Jake Paul next month. And it's not a great reading for Paul. Most people in the world of combat sports want Anderson Silva to win the fight. Liddell believes that come fight night, the Brazilian legend will prove too much for Paul. However, the Iceman did go on to give Paul credit for his tenacity. Liddell has suggested that the wealth of experience Silva has behind him will see him come out on top and put an end to Paul's winning run. He said Paul, got nothing to lose, but that's dangerous. But then went on to explain how Anderson's power and the fact that he's a striker will more than likely come into play. Liddell, known for his battles with fellow UFC legend Randy Couture, also added Jake had some good luck with guys that were wrestlers that tried to strike. One thing is to have okay striking for MMA, but that's because you have to worry about them taking you down. He then revealed how he sees the fight ending, with the Spider knocking Paul out, which many have suggested will be a win for combat sports across the planet. Who do you guys think will win when these two do battle in October? And finally, Paul is still angling for that Tyson bout. Mike Tyson was pictured being pushed through a Florida airport in a wheelchair earlier this summer, so of course Jake Paul called him out. I mean, it fits his MO after all. Paul is set to take on Anderson Silva at the end of next month, but the YouTuber is still looking for a potential fight with the former baddest man on the planet. Tyson was quoted as saying the idea was really interesting last year, before also saying that if it's going to happen at all, it has gotta happen this year, 2022. Since Tyson left a Paul sparring session after 30 seconds earlier this year, world-renowned trainer Freddie Roach poured scorn on the idea that Iron Mike would be interested in fighting Paul, but that hasn't stopped Jake calling him out. When recently asked who he would like to fight in the future, Paul instantly replied Mike Tyson, before going on to say, "That would be crazy, yeah, and I have so much respect for him. He's another one of my idols. And I think he said he wanted to do the fight. Mike, where are you at, bro? Let's make it happen. Please stop Jake." As usual, thanks for stopping by today, and remember to tune in again next time for some more fun reveals. And why not do us a big favor by liking and sharing today's video, whilst also subscribing to our channel so you don't miss out on more interesting bits in the future. Bye guys.